Hi guys, I'm back with another video, and today I'd like to ask you all, do you pray out loud or do you keep it within yourself? Which one's better? Is there a better? I've been thinking about this recently because I had made I have made a personal change. I used to pray out loud, and I had prayer points, phrases that you say over and over, or maybe just once that you go through regularly, that are already prepared. Whether you prepare them or you get them at church, they're pretty much already prepared. I used to pray that way. And then I began to think that what I have to say to God needs to be within myself so that I don't get caught up in the exact words of what I'm saying. And maybe I can take time to pause within myself and let God tell me and let God speak to me. But that's what I do. My family's really big on praying out loud, praying out loud, praying out loud. Like, how do you say it? Finding the right words. Definitely using phrases that are good, that we hear often, and that are affirming ideas, which is great. But that's not a thing anymore. And so I think now they're beginning to think I don't pray at all because, it's just not something anyone overhears me doing anymore. And I've gotten some comments. And I don't know. So I went and I looked in the Bible to see, I just looked up the word prayer to see what different people documented in the Bible did and said about prayer, what even God says about prayer. And so I picked out some verses that that speak to me. There are about 152 mentions of prayer in the Bible. Not really a surprise. Many of them are in Psalms. Also, if you know the book of Psalms, it's a lot of songs that David has written to God, prayers. So the first verse, right, that I picked out is 2 Chronicles 32:20. King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah, son of Amos, cried out in prayer to heaven about this. So there's a crying out. There are instances of crying out in the Bible. And as I said, David in his Psalms, in chapter 39, verse 12, he says, "Hear my prayer, Lord. Listen to my cry for help. Do not be deaf to my weeping." Do not be deaf to my weeping. Now, God being an all-knowing, all-seeing God, I do not believe, I have to disagree with David, I do not believe God is deaf to my prayers. Whether I'm crying out to God or whether they're within me, I believe God hears our prayers. He may respond with a, nah. he might respond with not now. And he might respond with a resounding yes, but I believe that God hears our prayers. Okay, so the next verse I pulled is another verse from Psalms. Let me see. Chapter 142, verse 1. David says, I cry out to the Lord. I lift up my voice to the Lord for mercy. So some people feel they need to lift their voice. It needs to be a crying out, a shouting, to make sure that God has heard you, which is also really beautiful in a lot of ways, because you're speaking directly to God, almost as if you can reach out and touch him. And prayer should feel that way. That is also wonderful. But then there are times in your life where you don't have the strength to cry out. Does God hear you then? I believe so. It has to be. It has to be. When you don't have the right words, you're not articulate, and you're doubled over, it has to be that God hears you. Isaiah 26:16, Lord, they came to you in their distress. When you disciplined them, they could barely whisper a prayer. Has to be that when you can't cry out, when you can't lift up your hands, when you can barely get it out, God hears you. It has to be. There's another one, Jonah. In the first video, I talked about Jonah, and when he was in the belly of the whale or the belly of the fish, he prayed to God and in essence said, I will do what you asked me to do. So Jonah chapter 2 verse 7. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. When his life was ebbing away. And it's another moment where you barely have it. You barely have it in you, but you speak to God in the best way that and most whole way that you can, and he hears you, or at least I believe so. And in that one, hey, God did hear him, because then he popped out of the fish, right? So then there's something about feeling so much pressure that you have to pray a certain way to show that you're acting like a Christian and looking like a Christian and feeling like a Christian. Yes, Lord. That you begin to put on a show. I don't think God likes a show. But sometimes we do it and we don't know we're doing it, especially when we're young, and our Sunday school teacher's like, pray this way, and our mom's like, pray that way, and you're like, okay, and so you do your best, right? And you're just doing what you've seen. But I just want to implore you, whoever you are out there, if you are just getting into being a Christian and you're just coming back and you go to like a Bible study or a group thing, or you've started praying with your spouse and your spouse puts pressure on you, or someone puts pressure on you and says, oh, don't do it this way, do it this way, or give it more gusto, or I don't know. Remember, that's just you and God all the time. whether it's in front of a group of people or not. It's just you and him. And to reinforce that personal relationship with God, I suggest do you. But I could be wrong. There are a lot of people that feel strongly about either or. So put it in the comments. The last verse I'll throw out to you is Mark 12:40. They devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. These men will be punished most severely. In Matthew 6:5, I don't know if I mentioned that before, I can't remember. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. Okay. If you have a little bit of time, drop in the comments what you like to do. What makes you feel free and connected to God? How is that? Do you pray silently? Do you pray out loud? Can the whole block hear you? Let us know. Okay, maybe we can have a discussion about it. Until the next video.